St. John was given in the book of Revelation the entire contents of the act of hope. Because what is the act of hope? Hope is the promise, is the future, is the final realization. What are we aiming for? We are aiming for union with God through spiritual warfare, battle, and so forth, and then victory. But in the end, it's all the elect together. So he's just telling us not history, not future events, not visions. To a certain extent, it's not really visions, it's facts. It's the fact that this is where we're heading. This is our final goal. We don't have other future. The future is different. The future is Jesus. There are no futures out of Jesus. There is no future out of the heavenly Jerusalem. You cannot conceive a future out of the heavenly Jerusalem. That's not possible. So he's telling us the true prophecy. As you can see, it's not the prophecy of events. It's the prophecy of spiritual life. It's the prophecy of why Jesus came here, to give us redemption, to give us the transformation, to make us victorious in him and through him, and to unite us, each one of us, with him. This is the future. You understand that here the notion of time and the notion of prophecy changes completely. Let me draw something to you to help you a little bit, enter a little bit more into this. I need all your attention here, because this now, what I will explain, is very important to understand the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament, the prophecy in the Old Testament and the prophecy in the New Testament. It's one of the aspects. The other aspect, by the way, is explained in the first lesson in the course Bible and Spiritual Life. That's a key lesson. I invite everybody to have a look at this. Now, there are some people whom, when they address time and history, they might use the expressions, the history of salvation, or Bible timeline. I'm sure you heard that. It's a beautiful course that you can find, I think, in London also. The temptation is to consider time as the starting point of it, which would be creation. And then, of course, you would have the final moment, which would be the final resurrection. The final resurrection, and then the judgment, and then the end. And of course, in the middle, we will have incarnation and the cross. How does time go? Time goes this way. So we have different events. We have the fall, we have Abraham, we have Joseph, Moses, Joshua, the prophets, and so forth, until the last prophets who announced Jesus. And then we have Jesus, and then we have the time of the church. And then events, until the last moment. There are people, maybe all of us, when we think about time and think about history and events, even in a Christian way, we see it moving this way. So this is T for time, and we're moving forward. There is a beginning and there is an end. Now, we need to be very careful, because the nature of time changed through incarnation and redemption. And we are not paying enough attention to that. And this is very, very dangerous. Because if we continue to think that the history of salvation goes this way with a beginning and an end, we are in danger. Why? Because the coming of Jesus, the coming of the eternal word of God, changes things, but doesn't change things radically, while in fact it changes everything radically. The temptation then in this case is not to perceive, and I need all your attention here, is not to perceive fully the difference between prophecy in the Old Testament and prophecy in the New Testament. This is why St. John of the Cross, in the coming chapters, you will see, starting from chapter 19, which we are already reading, through to 22, he is presenting what I'm saying. Now, what is the true change of time and history, salvation, and prophecy? I would draw it this way. I will draw a line till here, and then I will do something completely unexpected. I will draw a door. And then I will draw this line. Instead of being horizontal, it will take off like this. So of course, since it is behind the wall, it will be like this. And this is God. Sorry to represent God in this odd way, but I'm trying just to explain something. The time is not anymore linear. We finally have a door. We finally have a way. And the door allows us, lets us in a temple. And in the temple, there is a narrow path that leads to the Holy of the Holies. But this journey is not horizontal. It's rather exponential curve, or vertical if you prefer. Time changed. Since the moment of Pentecost, we are in the time of the grace of God. It is the transformative time. The door and the way are opened finally, giving us the possibility to move from our reality to God's reality through a transformation. Prophecies are achieved in Jesus, because prophecies are about the coming of Jesus, the existence of this temple. Now we have the temple. So let me just draw a temple here. We have this temple. It's given to us. And the temple has a unique function to lead us to the Holy of the Holies, because the veil is opened and the way is given to us. I am the door, I am the way. I'm leading you to the Father through a transformative way in me. The temple is Jesus himself. So the door is Jesus. The shepherd is Jesus. The journey, the way is Jesus. The temple is Jesus. Time changed completely. There is no time there. Time changed. It's a transformative time. You can't count in minutes and hours. You count in steps of transformation. So, is there a future here in this new time since 2000 years? The future is God himself. While, and I need all your attention here, please. All our attention continues as Christians to consider that there is time after the cross, that there is history after the cross, that there are events after the cross. We haven't seen what I just drew. We don't consider what this temple, this transformative power, we don't consider it. We still talk about tomorrow. We still talk about next century or next millennium. That's totally absurd. Each generation can achieve that journey in red. Each generation, each human being. There is no future. The future is God himself, is Jesus himself. So when you talk about prophecy, in the Old Testament, yes, you are walking and hoping on this straight, you can see my mouse here, you are walking here. You have creation, you have fall, you have Abraham, you have Joseph, Moses, Joshua, David, Solomon, exile, and so forth. And then who is promised? This temple is promised. This door is promised. This narrow path is promised. Nothing else. There is no future outside of this. This temple has the future in it, but it's not this future here. It's not this future. This future doesn't exist. It's utter rubbish. There is no prophecy about the future, because the future is accessible already from 2000 years ago. And each generation has the possibility to reach the final point. Each human being during his or her time on earth has the possibility to reach the top, the maximum of achievement. It's not, I leave it to my son, I leave it to my daughter to live what I couldn't live. No, no, I am responsible for myself. So you understand my point here. I'm trying to explain here the difference of the notion of time, history, events, and future, and of course prophecy. So many authors, very commendable authors, I'm not talking about any author, I'm talking about important authors, talk about creation as a beginning and final resurrection of everybody and judgment in the end. We say it even in the creed. But it is very dangerous not to perceive the nature of our time. In old-fashioned time, they used to write not 2022. No, they used to write the year of grace, 2022. The year of grace, 2022. We are in a different time. We have an opened door and we have an opened path, and we have a place to live in, which is this temple. And a little bit like Teresa of Avila, no? There are mentions in this temple until you reach the spiritual marriage with Jesus. Okay?